G'day everyone, my name is Roundrobin. I'm actually one of the IT Technology Certified Engineers on Managed Engine Products. On our last webinar, we discussed about Services Plus customization and actually how to customize your help desk according to your needs. For instance, your categories, status levels, and so on and so forth, especially with the incident templates. Today we will be covering the automation on ServiceDesk Plus. So as you can see, the agenda for today will be as follows. Request Autoassign, business rules, service level agreements, notification rules, and preventive maintenance tasks. Just a quick basically a roundabout on how the automations work is for the automatic tickets to be dispatched through to relevant technicians. You have to have business rules in place, as well as your service level agreements need to be configured so that it actually assigns through to the right person. Then you have your notification rules, which will then send a mail through to the relevant users to let them know if SLAs have been breached, if a new request came in to the specific group, or if also sending a mail through to the requesters that send through a request for the help desk for attendance from the technician side, and also your preventive maintenance task, which will then save time on everyday tasks that you need to do. So as you can see, the auto ticket dispatching, you get the functionality of enabling the technician auto assigning. You get two different ways of doing it. There is round robin and also load balancing. Round robin basically works as follows. Each technician gets a request, and then it will start over again and assign requests so that everyone gets an equal amount of requests. Where load balancing works as, let's say one technician has 12 requests on its name and another technician has only 2 on its name. It will keep on assigning requests through to that technician that only has 2 requests on its name to level to balance the load of requests. So it will keep on assigning requests to him until he has 12 requests on his name as well. You can also go and exclude technicians from the auto assigning of requests. The next one would be the business rules. Business rules allows you to customize a workflow. So you can execute the specific request. So let's say, for instance, you define a rule based on a criteria. So let's say we'll say that the criteria is category is desktop hardware. So once that specific category has been selected on any request, it will automatically assign that request through to a technician. So that is on the business rules. An event, conditions, and action models. Automating dispatch of groups and business rules, and then categorize your frequent occurring tasks. You get your service level agreements, which will also be defined based on a criteria. Mostly what people use the service level agreement for is for priority. So you get 4 levels of proactive escalations. You get response-based escalations, and you set up rules based on many available criteria. So where this comes in is mainly, as I mentioned, on the priority part of the service level, is that based on the priority of the request. If it's a high priority, you can make that the request should be resolved within 1 hour. Or if it's a medium, 4 hours. If it's a normal request, 8 hours. And if it's a low request, within 12 hours. Where the service level agreement comes in, or where the organizational roles play a big role in the service level agreements, is based on what your operational hours are. So you can say that within the service level agreement that if the service level agreement is high, it should be fixed or responded irrespective of operational hours. That will give you the right to then make sure that all the requests get sorted out. And I'll be showing an example of that just now. As mentioned with the notification rules, so this is basically a technician or a requester-based notification just to let them know how it looks like. You can customize the templates towards the way you would like it to be. If you want to put in extra information, your signatures, and so on and so forth, you can actually place that into the notification rules. It's for alerts on for incidents, problems, changes, and asset management on the notifications. And it's also for it can be sent through via SMS or with email alerts. So the SMS, obviously, you need to have a specified SMS provider, for instance, Clickatal or bulk SMS and so on. So it will then integrate to the system and it will send SMSs based on that. Then you get your preventive maintenance task. So your preventive maintenance task will be to cancel out your everyday things that you have to do. For instance, checking the backup tapes. Not a lot of people are using backup tapes anymore, but also checking if the Exchange server is working. If there's any outages during a weekend, you can actually schedule it. So every Monday, Tuesday, you need to check that specific server. So you will also then define it based on, you can create a request, or it will automatically create a request. Keep it on an open status. And once you have made sure that all of your tasks has been done, you can close a specific request with a comment to it. And that will be the 5 automations that we will cover today. We will jump over to the help desk now, just to cover a specific part. So I'll show you guys exactly where to find all of the things that we just discussed right now. So the first one that we'll find is the technician Autoassign. Once we click on it, we can go and enable auto-assigning, have it on Roundrobin, and we will exclude 2 technicians from it. Let's exclude more than just 2, just to use it for example purposes. We will then also put in, we can also go and put in an exception for it. So if the column is actually defined by the level, is based on tier 1, then it will basically not auto-assign to relevant technicians. So save that. Once that has been saved, it is immediately effective. So once any request comes through to your help desk, it will automatically start assigning it through to your technicians. We will jump over to the next part, which is a very, very vital part within an ITIL help desk for you, which is the business rules. So as I mentioned with the business rules specifically, you will add a business rule. Let's say, for instance, we will create this one as hardware testing. And we can turn on cascade execution. So how that specifically works is that it will keep on applying a business rule until it figures out what the criteria were that was filled in. So that is how that will work. So we will say when it's created, edit it on any time, because we don't have a specific operational hour at the moment for inside or outside operational hours, so we'll make it anytime. The criteria that we'll define is, let's make it, for instance, on category is, we'll choose the category, make it desktop hardware, and we will add it to the rules. So after we've added it to the rules, we need to go and perform a specific action for this to happen or to take place. So as you can see, there's a lot of actions that you can do. So what we'll do is we will choose an action to place it in a group. We will choose a specific group of the problems. We'll add that specific action. And we can select more than just one action. So we can go and now define it to assign to a technician or set the priority. Let's choose that one just for interest sake. And we'll set it to normal. Well, let's make it high. So we'll set the priority through to high. After that has been done, you can enable notifications to be sent through to relevant technicians, or even SMSs to be sent through to relevant technicians. Once you want to add more technicians, you can click on the Add button, and it will notify those technicians by email to let them know that there's a new request placed in their group, or there's a that a new request has been applied with the business rule. So we'll save the specific business rule, and we'll jump over to the Request tab just to test that out and see if the business rule applies. So we said that the category will be desktop hardware. I will put it user here. Status will be as follows. We will not select a priority, and we will not select a group for this specific request. So once we add the request, we'll add the request, and automatically we should know now that the priority is set to high because the business rule took effect. You can also quickly have a look and see if we can see the group. Unfortunately, we can't see the group because it's not added to the template. But once the group has been associated as well, it will place it in the relevant group as we marked on the specific business rule. So where we will start playing a big role now as well, now that we're done with the business rules, is the SLAs, the service level agreements. So as you can see that the priority was set to high, so automatically my SLA kicked in as high SLA, and it will tell me when the due by date is. Within an hour from now, this request needs to be resolved. So just because we have not customized the SLAs, we won't have a specific escalation order now. So I will quickly go to the SLA specifically. So just a quick show of where it will be found. Right over there, service level agreements. These ones were pre-populated within the product once it has been installed. We'll select the high SLA. You can put in your description. We will keep it as emergency, sorry about that, emergency purposes only. And you can see that the rule is set that when the priority is high, it will assign this SLA through to it. We can now go and say that the response time needs to be within 5 minutes and should be resolved irrespective of operational hours. We can select if it's holidays or weekends as well, but obviously we will not enable that because our operational hours for the specific site is set to 9 hours a day. So it gives us more than enough time to resolve this specific request. You get to a different level of escalations, as you can see. Level 1 escalation is for the specific response time. We can escalate it to the ticket owner, or you can escalate it through to the managers to let them send them a mail to let them know that, okay, so something is not right. Why have we not responded to this? So they can follow up to that specific issue to find out why the specific technician did not respond yet to the request. We can also go and enable the level 1 escalations, 2 escalation, and 3 escalation. So where this plays a big part is usually a lot of clients or companies would like to use the level of escalations on a breach of 50%, 75%, and 100%. So for this specifically, we will say this will be on a 50% rate. So this is before the request needs to be completed, resolved, the resolution time. So we'll make it 30 minutes before, The second level escalation, we will make it 15 minutes before, which would be on 75%. And the third escalation would be 0 seconds before or 0 seconds after. And we will choose who needs to be notified. So let's make it as ticket owner, administrator, and header. That one, we'll just make this as ticket owner. Actually, just make this one. So those two. And we will make the last one as 3. And then we can go and perform on a 100% base that it needs to be assigned to another technician. A priority can be set from if the request, or if this SLA was associated as a medium SLA, you can go and after 100% associate a priority as high for it, and it will then change the time again for it. You can place it in a specific group if it's for another group, or a higher level of technician group, group of technicians that will work on the specific issue a lot quicker than your level tier 1 technicians. You can go and place it in a different group, and so on and so forth. And then you'll save the specific SLA. So once it has been saved, we know that the response time is now 5 minutes. So if we go back to our request, we will see that, just want to add some columns here. Let's add the resolve date and response due by date. So if we move to the side, the response due by date was not assigned because the request was associated before the SLA was saved. So SLA and customization of your service desk needs to be configured before you push through requests. So all SLAs need to be customized. So let's quickly create a new request. Guest again. We will not assign a technician. I'll do that set. Testing hardware 2. We will add the request. Automatically, the technician was assigned again. The priority was not assigned, which was strange. Let's just have a look. Oh, we never selected the specific category. Apologies for that. Desktop hardware. Update the request. Priority has been assigned as high. The response due by date is within the next 5 minutes. The due by date is within the next hour. And I will show you guys exactly how the response due by date would look like. We can always go within this with an incident template and disable these fields so that technicians can't change the dates and time for that specifically. So within 5 minutes, I will quickly come back to this specific request and show you when the SLA response date was violated. Our next part, which is luckily right next to the service level agreements, is the notification rules. So as you can see, the notification rules is to send a mail through from your mailing server after it's been configured, through to the end user or to the technicians based on what the situation is. So you can acknowledge a requester by email when a new request is received, acknowledge a sender by email on receipt of an email reply, acknowledge requester by email when a request is updated. So it's not mandatory to tick all these boxes. It's always suggested not to flood your end users with too many mails, but if you want to show them or have evidence of technical support working on their request, you can make sure that you tick all of these boxes and they will be notified about everything that happens on that request. A very important one is email user when a request is resolved. So as discussed earlier on the previous webinar where we had the customization in regards to statuses, would be specifically for when you put your request status over to resolve, it will send a mail through to the end user to give them the right to say, yes, it has been resolved, or no, it has not been resolved. So this is to send them a mail to let them know that the request has been resolved. They can approve it. If they do not approve it, after 3 days, the request will automatically close. You can set those settings under the General tab, Self-Service Portal Settings. That is where you'll be able to set those settings for how long the request needs to be open once it's been placed on resolved status. Another very, very important specific notification is to acknowledge the requesters by email when a request is closed. Obviously, you want to let your requesters know when a request has been closed. If you don't let them know when a request has been closed, they will wait for a long time or a long period before they follow up again, and it might cause some confusions and so on. Which is nice that they can just provide you with a request ID number, and on the ID number you can actually just search it. At the top, you can just search the request ID number and find out what exactly happened on that specific request. Why was it closed? Was it resolved? Was there a resolution sent on it or added to it? And so on. You can also acknowledge email CC'd users by email when a new request is created. You can acknowledge email users when a request is resolved, and you can acknowledge CC'd users by email when a request is closed. You also get the opportunity to notify requesters when a request is assigned to a technician. So then they'll know who they need to communicate with to get the problem resolved. You notify editors when a request is waiting for an update. Notify requesters when a request is waiting for update by editor. Notify requesters when a request is updated by editor. Notify requesters when intermediate editor is changed by technician. Notify all editor when he is removed from the responsibility. Notify new editor when a request is waiting for update. Notify requester when a request is appended with technician reply by email. And notify a requester when a request is shared with him or her. So that will be on your requester request notification rules. You then get your technician notification rules, where you can notify the technicians via email or SMS. And you can actually go and choose the specific technicians that need to be notified. So if I'm notified by email, I can select the technician that's going to be. So this is for purposes of, let's say, for instance, an HQD. So people that will be assigning requests to relevant technicians if you don't have the auto assigning on. So that will then basically be, that is what this functionality will be there for as well. Alert technician by email when a request is assigned. You want that to be on. So your request is, your technician actually gets an email once the request has been assigned to them. I will jump over to alert or notify technician by email when the new reply for the request. So they will get it on two ways. Up there at the top, there's a notification that will come up and let them know that a new request has been assigned to them, or there's been a response from a user. Or you can have it by email, where you can customize it, how it will look like, and they will then get a mail to let them know. You can also send email to technician when a request is reopened by the user. So that is, or from the resolved status mail that they get, or even if they just respond to a specific request that has been closed, or if they respond to the last update that they received, then it will reopen the request as well. And as you can see, there's a lot more different types of notifications for your technicians or group members to let them know if a request has been left unpicked or if a new request is added to a specific group. So that will be to notify them all about that. At the bottom, you will see that there's your email templates for replying to a request, SLA escalation email, first response escalation email, forwarding a request, notifying a technician, notifying for approval on a specific request, notifying approval sender for approval action, announcement notifications, notifying technicians when a note is added, notifying requesters when a new request by email is rejected. So that will then basically give them an opportunity to have a look at that. So just to quickly show you guys how it looks like, or how your templates usually look like. So they come out of the box as follows. So you can go and specify the variables that you want to. If you want to put in your email signature, which will be created up there at the top under personalize, you can put it. Thanks. So automatically, if I save this email signature now, once I reply to a request, it will have that signature within it as well. So it's all dependent on how you're going to customize your subject. The title, the request ID always needs to be there, or else it will create duplicate requests, or it will keep on creating a new request every time they respond to that mail. And that is the request part of the notification rules. Same goes for the problems, changes, solutions, tasks, projects, and mobile push notifications. So that will be the core part of that. We will jump over to the last part of the automation, which would be the preventive maintenance tasks. So with the preventive maintenance task, as mentioned a couple of times throughout this webinar today, it is there to prevent you from forgetting or making human errors of forgetting to do relevant things that should have been done. So how it works is as follows. You will click on the Add Preventive Maintenance Task. We'll first say that there's a task template, so you can then basically configure it. You can fill in the information. So request type is incident, the impact is high, urgency is low. Our priority matrix will kick in, and it will automatically provide the high priority for the request. Our category would be desktop support. Name would be guest. We have to go and assign this through to a relevant technician. If we don't assign this through to a technician, it's going to automatically assign it to a new technician every day, because we have our auto technician assigning on. So we need to apply this through to a technician so that they can call in work on this request. So if you know that you have your system administrators and they do server backups and so on, you know who they are, and you know who they need to be assigned through to, who this request needs to be assigned to. So in this case, I will assign it to myself. So we'll make it the heading as please check all service and provide detail if all is online. So we'll just keep this link. So we'll make the subject as server backup / checkup. So please check service and provide details if they're all not online, and if backups were success. Spelling is horrible today. So if backup were successful. You can also go and attach relevant files or screenshots of previous backups and so on. And all of the information has been filled in the way we want it. We will then click on the next. Once we click on the next, we have the opportunity to then have a weekly, daily schedule, monthly schedule, periodic schedule, or a one-time schedule. So it only happens once. So we will keep this on let's make it a monthly schedule. So we'll make it on February. No, let's keep it on a weekly schedule so that we don't get confused. So on a weekly schedule, we want to check this the first thing. So over the weekends, we make sure that all patches are deployed and everything is going on, or everything's working fine. We want to check it on Mondays and on Fridays at 8 o'clock. So at 8 o'clock, every Monday and Friday, it will create a request. So let's quickly just create it based on the time that we have. So we can't do it really in that specific time, but we'll have it on the time that we currently have on now. Hopefully, we will have this preventive maintenance task created before the end of the webinar. So as you can see, it's already started. So we can manually go and start it. So we will create it directly right now. As you can see, new request has been created for server backup and checkup. It's associated to administrator, and he will be the person that would be taking care of that specific request. Jumping back a bit to our SLA response time. Let's have a look and see if we violated the SLA response time. So on this request, that was on testing hard 2. Let's go to all requests. As you can see on testing hardware 2, and over there it tells us that the response status is delayed by 9 minutes. So we can see that we didn't respond to that request in time, and it assigned it through to a new group and assigned it to another technician as we requested for it to do on the SLA. Over on the dashboard side, you can also have a look on specific requests. Hopefully we have some information. So request approaching SLA violation. And unfortunately, we can't see the response time right now, but it will also display. You can always have your dashboard customized to display that information for you. So obviously we can see here now that we've got, within the next 60 minutes, we've got 3 requests, 120 minutes, 180 minutes, we've got 3 requests as well. That will be approaching SLA violation. Perfect. So that will be concluding the automation part of ServiceDesk Plus. If there's any questions from your side, you're more than welcome to post your questions right now into the chat or into the question box, and we will answer them as much, or I will answer them as much as possible and as quick as possible to my knowledge, and hopefully we can assist you guys as much as possible then. I will be keeping the questions open for the next 15 minutes, and then we can take it from there. Okay, so I don't see any questions for time being. So I would just like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. I do appreciate all the attendance. If you guys have any questions or if you require any information, please don't hesitate to send us a mail and we will assist you guys as much as possible from our side. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.